In the heart of an old town where the streets remained eerily quiet after sunset, stood an ancient antique shop. Its wooden sign creaked in the wind, and its dusty windows held a collection of forgotten relics, each with a history no one dared to speak of. Aisha, a 26-year-old journalist, had always been drawn to the strange and unusual. That evening, as she wandered into the shop, her eyes were immediately pulled toward an old mirror standing at the back. The mirror was large, its golden frame tarnished and cracked in places, its surface slightly warped as if the glass had melted and frozen again. But what unsettled her most was the feeling that something inside it was watching. The shopkeeper, an old man with deep-set eyes, noticed her fascination and approached. His voice was low, almost hesitant. "That mirror does not show your true reflection," Aisha scoffed. "What's that supposed to mean?" The old man simply shook his head. "Some things are better left undisturbed. That mirror, it belonged to someone who vanished without a trace. Be careful where you place it." Aisha, intrigued rather than frightened, bought the mirror and took it home, setting it against the hallway wall of her apartment. The first few nights, nothing happened. But then, the little things started. At first, it was barely noticeable. She would walk past the mirror and feel an odd sensation, as if someone else were in the room. One evening, she swore she saw her reflection hesitate, a fraction of a second behind her movements. Then came the whispers. They started softly, just on the edge of hearing, faint murmurs like distant voices speaking in a language she didn't recognize. She blamed it on exhaustion, stress. But then, on the fifth night, the whispers turned into something else, a name, Aisha. Her blood ran cold. She turned sharply, staring at the mirror, her heart hammering in her chest. The reflection was normal, or so she thought. But as she stepped closer, she realized something was wrong. The eyes, they weren't hers. They were darker, deeper, filled with something ancient and knowing. And then, her reflection smiled. Aisha stumbled back, the air around her suddenly heavy, suffocating. The lights flickered. The reflection raised a hand, but she hadn't moved. Then, the glass rippled like water disturbed by an unseen force, and the reflection, her reflection, stepped forward. It emerged slowly, unnaturally, one foot stepping out of the mirror onto her wooden floor. Aisha wanted to run, to scream, but she was paralyzed by terror. The thing that looked like her tilted its head, its grin stretching wider. "You took my place." Aisha's breath caught. What are you talking about?" The reflection, no, the thing, sighed, almost disappointed. "Don't you remember you were the one in here? I was the one out there." She felt her body tremble. Memories, ones she couldn't explain, flashed through her mind. A dark space, a feeling of being trapped. The mirror had always been there. But had she always been the one looking out? She turned to run, but it was too late. The thing lunged at her, grabbing her wrist with a grip colder than ice. She gasped as the world spun, her vision blurring, and then silence. The mirror stood in the hallway, still and undisturbed. On the other side, Aisha pounded against the glass, screaming, her voice muffled. Her reflection, now free, simply turned away and walked into the world, smiling.